Hey, Trailblazers and Tarmac Tacklers, welcome back to the Maximum Mileage Podcast. It is Nick Hancock here, and I'm on my own today because my co-host Faye is otherwise engaged. And I've had the pleasure today of interviewing one of my own athletes, a guy called Marcus Weedon. You'll hear all about him when we start chatting. He talks about some awesome points about his running and particularly a chronic illness that he deals with his running and how he's fought through that to run some pretty incredible stuff that he does. So listen out for the rest of the episode. I just want to take the time to introduce some of the support that I get at Maximum Mileage that I'm always ever grateful for. And I've been working with Wonderwear for the last 4 years now, and always grateful to those guys for their particularly their pants and their socks, keeping me chafe-free, talk fitness, keeping me fueled. Protein Works. We've done episodes where we've talked about the importance of protein for runners. So I get my daily dose of extra protein other than my food through the Protein Works. Ugoku projects, which for any of you who are in the Patreon membership, which I'll talk about in a second, I'm wearing one of their hats. Ugoku projects make the most beautiful trail running hats. So make sure you check those guys out, and I'll put them in the show notes. And I've been sipping on True Start coffee as well. And I mentioned the Patreon membership. Get yourself into our Patreon membership, search Maximum Mileage on the Patreon app and join. It's just $4.99 a month, and you'll get that back just in savings with some of our fantastic partners that I've mentioned. Enjoy the episode. Hi, Marcus. Nice to see you.
Hey, Nick. Nice to see you as well.
Yeah, happy. We're recording this on a Friday. The episodes always go out on a Thursday, but happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday indeed. Yeah, the end of the week. Always good.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for coming on to the podcast. We've been talking about this actually for so long, since way before I even thought of doing a podcast properly. I was thinking, oh, well, if I did do a podcast, I definitely want to get Marcus on because he's got such an interesting story to tell. And we did kind of tout the idea, and I finally pulled my finger out of my arse and started the podcast. And here we are, probably going out on sort of episode 17, I think it's going to be. So anyway, here we are. Wow. So yeah, welcome. So Marcus, let's start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself. Who is Marcus Weedon?
Who is Marcus Weedon? Well, apart from all the work I do in terms of looking after people within the hospitality industry, my life changed quite a bit, and I started running quite a lot through all sorts of reasons. Got addicted to it, and then started doing all these stupid challenges. Not stupid.
Yes.
Well, they are stupid.
Some of them are.
Yeah.
We can talk about that a bit.
Yeah. But I just love, there's two things I love in life, three things. I better say my wife first. But the other thing is people. And the other thing is absolutely love running.
It's probably a good place to start, actually, about how we know each other, because as listeners are starting to understand, sort of my back history is that I was in hospitality for a long time and in operations. And then when I moved out of hospitality operations because of my mental health, and I started working in the HR side of things, I actually was the recruitment manager for a big restaurant chain in the UK and used to help me find people with your recruitment business. And just a quick shout out if anybody's listening and is in need of hospitality people. Marcus is definitely your man.
Thank you very much.
And because you were good at what you did, we became friends through it.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of how things kind of started. And then when I set up Maximum Mileage, you were patient number 3.
Patient. I think you were more patient than I was.
And you've been a very loyal supporter of mine until very recently. And all good things come to an end. We've done some awesome things. We'll talk about them. Your passion, though, really is the shorter, faster stuff. Hence your Instagram tag, Speedy Weedy Runs. and you're now going off on your separate way, because I don't really specialize in 5Ks. I'm the longer stuff, which I did manage to convince you to do.
We'll talk about that in a bit, I'm sure.
Yeah, indeed. So, tell us a bit more then, about you. And
so I think one of the things, and the main reason I started doing running, there was back in 2011, I did my very first run, which was straight into a London marathon. And I wasn't a runner then. It was just a charity said, you've got an opportunity to go running. And I think because of that opportunity to do that, I kind of got into it. I was only running like once or twice a week. I wasn't taking it very seriously. I remember the first one I did was like 5 hours 10 or something like that, 5 hours 20. It was slow compared to what we've done recently. And I just got the bug from there, but still not taking it very seriously. It wasn't until, I mean, I did 3 London marathons on the trot for the charity, just because I loved raising money for charities, and then did loads of cycling and stuff like that afterwards. But I think because of my back disease that I've got, the ankylosing spondylitis, I kind of had to do fitness anyway to stop it from getting worse. And from a job that I finished where, like yourself, I mean, I got into a place where I wasn't very good mentally either. And that point of leaving, I found myself not doing anything. And the best thing I could do was get out every morning. I took 3 months out of work just to get into a good headspace. And I started doing running, and I took it a lot seriously. And I was doing 5Ks probably before, and I was doing like 21, 22 minutes. And I just couldn't get to where I wanted to be. Like I say, I love the fast stuff. I love doing 5Ks. That is my bag. Or getting on a track. So I think after that 3-month period, I managed to get under 20 minutes. And I think from then I joined a running club as well, Metros, which is very local to me. And I've become a big part of that. And it's become a big part of me in supporting, as I say everything I love is about people. And the community that we have within the running club fits into everything that I love to do. And that's giving back to them as well as myself.
You're very active, aren't you, with your
club?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Very, very active. I lead probably about 2 or 3 sessions a week. We do a speed play, basically some of the stuff that you've done with me. And I've taken that to the track and do it with 20 to 30 people in one go at a track, which is
I've been coaching the entire Metro's running club, haven't I, indirectly for the last 3 years.
Thank you for not charging me for that. But yeah, I'm a race director now for the Harrow Hill 10K. I also race direct the cross country, which I love doing the race directing. It's a bloody lot of hard work, but hate doing cross country myself. You and them, I remember you saying, "Oh, you're going to have to start doing a load of stuff for the ultra that we train for."
Trail running.
And I put my training shoes on because I bought a special pair of shoes for it. But you hated it. I never wore the shoes ever again. Just after that one run, they sat in my cupboard, not doing anything. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of things that we get up to into the club, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. You're always posting on Instagram, all the things that you do with the club, and it's great to see. Thank you for everything you do for the runners, and actually, I did want to touch on your charity stuff as well, because I think that's quite an important part of your running is the work you do for charity, very much in the hospitality sector, which, as we both well know, is a very tough industry to be in, but also it's a great opportunity to provide, people who are disadvantaged with an opportunity to get into work. And you do some great stuff with, is it One Pavement Away?
Only a pavement away, yeah. So I do loads of work with them, and one of the events I went to this week was their Cook and Dine, where they get 500 people from the hospitality industry and give them a good grub. And the hospitality industry serves them as well. So all the senior people, which is brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I've done 3 years. We set up this 24-hour relay whereby we have the hospitality teams going up against each other for 1 hour. So you start at 12 o'clock and you finish at 1, and the next person goes off, and it keeps on going like that. So you could have a team of 24, you could have a team of 12 doing 2-hour slots.
I think my wife Alison was on the Yo Sushi
team.
Yeah, last year.
I mean, it started off quite slow, and originally we started off for 48 hours because we started it just as restaurants were about to open back up, and we thought it'd be a great team building exercise and go out, have fun, get used to knowing each other again. So we did it 40, and everybody absolutely loved it, and we raised a hell of a lot of money. But I think the last one is the one where it's turned that corner where there's competition now. There's teams that want to beat each other. And so much so that we've got a fundraising prize. If you raise the most amount of money, then we'll give you a great prize. I can't remember what it was, but so we had 2 teams going crazy for it. And then there were 2 teams that were neck and neck, and we kept just feeding back information to each team. And they were going nuts about trying to beat each other. And they just happened to be competitors in real life as well. It's great. And we raised, I think it was something like £10,000 or something like that for the 3rd time that we've actually done it. But I just sit in the background, do all the admin and help promote it and work with the charity and this money goes back to people who are either about to become homeless, or they are homeless, or they're people that are coming out of prison, and giving them the opportunities to learn something, to go back into the industry. It's a great charity. Funnily enough, at the event, the day before the event, the Prime Minister gave Greg Mangham an award. I can't remember what the award was, but it was for services to charity, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So the charity's doing a lot of great things. And then there's the second charity I do a little bit for, which is Springboard. So
Yes.
I won't say I necessarily do it. This is the one that I actually participate in on a year-to-year basis. So, and this is the one you think I'm very crazy about doing. So the first year I did it, was in May. It was quite warm, and I did
Oh yes, the May half
since
marathons.
yeah, a half marathon every day distance, not all in one go. Some of them was broken up into 3 or something like that. But I did manage to do a half marathon every day for the whole of May, which I
That
think
was
equates
in 2021, wasn't it? Because it was
2021. Yeah,
it was the June we started working together. I literally
that's right.
dragged you kicking and screaming away from running half marathons every day to
That was amazing. 705 kilometers I
I
did
know.
just run in a month. And then more recently, I did another challenge. And they always start off with, I'm not going to get competitive. I'm just going to do this little bit. And then someone decides to go and post they've done a 25-mile run or something like that. And I go, so that, I'm getting competitive. So I decided to do 1 million meters, not 1 million meters, 1 million steps, try and break that as a challenge. And as well, do over 1,000 kilometers in the month. But that was running and walking.
Yeah.
So I was doing about 33 or 34 kilometers a day.
Wow.
When I was supposed to be probably taking it easy.
Yes, you were, but this is kind of where that flexibility comes in with balancing training versus things that you enjoy and doing things back for the community. And I think it's important that you've done 2 massive ones. There's that one you've just done, and then obviously the one back in that May of 21. But
yeah,
you've done other challenges, and from a sort of a coaching point of view, I don't say to you, no, that's a stupid idea.
just
I
say,
always
oh my
roll my
God.
eyes and go, oh my God, here he goes again. But, we balance it and we make sure you recover and done some good stuff together amongst you doing some amazing things for charity. So, like I said earlier, it's sort of almost part of your running identity is the work that you do with the charities as well. So
I think it's very important that you do something that you absolutely love and you can give back with what you love. And I think that everything just stems around that for me.
Yeah.
And it's really important that I help people.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about ankylosing spondylitis. Now, I didn't know what the hell it was until I met you. I'd never heard of it. And now I feel like I know it intimately because it is, whilst it's, not something you want to have, it is sort of part of, your identity and your running identity rather, and how you've managed ankylosing spondylitis and become the runner that you are. So, I mean, just sort of start off with telling us a little bit about what is ankylosing spondylitis.
Well, I think in a nutshell, you could describe it as a degenerative arthritic disease, which is specifically on the lumbar spine, the lower part of the spine. So if you imagine having lime scale on a tap that just continually grows and grows and grows, and it gets harder and harder and harder, that is, it's like I think they call it like Roman sclerosis. So the bones in, I think it's like the second or the third part of the spine, they're fusing together as if they've got lime scale over the top of them. So if you don't do exercise of any shape or form, it will continually get worse. Okay. So it doesn't just affect that though, it affects all your joints. It affects things like fatigue. You get uveitis as well. So it's not just a back pain. So as I've said to you many, many times, I've got pains in my glutes and hamstrings. It stems from that. And there's not really much I can do with it or about it if I get a flare up. It's just absolutely painful. And it can happen in the middle of a race. It's happened quite a few times where everything just breaks down. You just have to stop and then run and stop and run. It's horrible. Luckily, I think probably over the last 25 years I've known about it. I mean, it hasn't been as bad when I've been keeping up to date with my stretching and doing the proper strengthening exercises. I kind of do miss out on now and again.
I had to remind you a few times over the last couple of years, haven't I?
Yeah.
In the gym, Marcus.
On occasion, it's absolutely unbearable. And I think after a run, you've driven somewhere like when I did the Newport Marathon and driving there and doing it. The journey back from that was horrendous because what happens is everything, like all the muscles contract because everything's all connected to the back. And just sitting there with this tight, acute pain that runs down the backs of your legs. And you have to manage that. And you just got to get out of the car, move around and get back in. And it's just, you have to take lots of painkillers, probably have to take 2 Nurofen and paracetamol before I go for a long run normally. Just in case it happens. Yeah.
Don't take ibuprofen.
I know.
Don't take
I
ibuprofen.
I don't do it very often, but if I know that I've woken up and it's pain, I do take it because you need to relax it. It's an anti-inflammatory,
Yeah. Okay.
and that's
Look,
and I
listen,
need to take it.
anybody listening, so I had James.
Yeah, don't do what I do.
James Scott was on this week's episode. He's a lead pharmacist, and he said, "Do not take ibuprofen on a long run. Don't do it."
Well, if James got an alternative, I'd love to hear about it.
We'll talk to him after the episode. Anyway, go on.
So yeah, so I've been living with it and managing it, and yeah, I think what I prefer to do with my running is like do that short, fast stuff because it doesn't hurt as much. The longer stuff, and that's probably why I didn't do a marathon after 2013. I kind of said, no, I'm not doing it anymore because it just hurts too much. Is because the training involved with it, it's just horrendous. It just hurts far too much. And I think coming to you as a coach was to possibly, and yeah, I agree that it was to help to do something a little bit longer without getting those pains and to do proper training. And I think there was the challenge there to be able to do that without the pain, which we got to when we did the ultra last year. And I was just thinking about it yesterday when I was thinking, oh, what kind of questions are you going to ask me today? And I was thinking back to the ultra and I was thinking probably the one race that I've done where I've ran very comfortably and it wasn't painful until I got the cramp in my quads. And that was nothing to do with my back. And it's probably the very first time I've done anything over half marathon distance in the last 3 years where it hasn't hurt.
Good. And just for everybody listening, how did you do in that 50K after you said, I'll never do an ultra? I'll never do it. I convinced you to do it. And then how did you do?
Up to 4 hours 20.
You did. Yeah.
4 hours 20. I'm
50K.
Still
That's
my first ultra, my
fast.
first marathon in 10 years.
Yeah, that is fast.
And I said to you, I don't think I'd do anything faster than 4:45, 4:30. So, and I can only put it down to your excellent training, obviously.
Well,
I going through everything I did.
I say it all the time, I can be the best coach in the world. You've got to get out there and do it. So, it
was hard. I remember it being really hard work going through the winter coming into the winter to do that. I mean, it was October, so it wasn't winter. There was a marathon, Newport Marathon was winter. But yeah, I mean, going through that and putting in, we weren't doing big distance in terms of the training. I remember doing a 30. you know, I like my loops. So it was a 30K when I was practicing the hydration because I hadn't done hydration properly ever.
Yeah.
And then fueling. And so we did a 30K and I did it around it's almost like a 1K loop. So we're doing it 30 times just so I had my car and all my refreshments and all my food. I always remember that. I remember that very, very clearly. But yeah, I mean, getting to the race, looking back on my marathons and not having the same preparation as I've had with yourself, there's a massive difference when you get to the marathon distance of your ultra and you're feeling good. You've kept up the same consistent pace all the way through because you've had that management of how to be able to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you did choose what I would call a very runnable ultra.
Yeah, first one. That was the whole point.
Yeah. So what's it called?
Run to the south.
Run to the sea. Run to the sea. That's it. I was thinking land to sea for a second.
Or it might be Run to the Coast. I can't remember what it was, but it's in Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. It was a really brilliant experience for the first ultra.
Yeah.
Really,
I had a few of you doing that race actually.
Did you?
Yeah, there was you, Sakina.
Oh yeah, Sakina.
And indirectly Sakina's husband.
Yeah.
Oh, they're funny, those two. Anyway,
they do make me laugh.
I mean, yeah, to run a 4, I'm sure it was 4:14, but and you came
16th. I mean, on 16th on Strava it comes up that because I did a stop.
Oh yeah.
Someone told me. You never told me this. Someone told me that when you get to your, I call them pit stops, where you can fuel up. Yeah, someone said there was a mat that you cross over and your time stops.
Oh, so what you thought? Just chill out for a bit.
So I thought I'd chill out, just have a few drinks and some crisps and banana. And lo and behold, I got back and I was like thinking, yeah, I've done 4 hours 15. That's amazing. And then I see up on the time it says 4:20. I said, what's going on here?
To be fair, 5-6 minutes of stops over the course of 50K is pretty good. That's good aid station management.
Yeah. Well, I missed the first one.
But that's okay. When you're running the pace you are, I often miss a first aid station because I don't really use the first aid station purely because I'm running quick enough to sort of go through the first aid station. Yeah. Obviously, it depends on the race, but something where you're running a 4-hour 50K. I usually bypass the first aid station and then use the next one and stock up from there. But 5-6 minutes over the course of 50K is pretty good, and sort of part of my philosophy with aid stations is get in and get out.
Yeah.
You get some people who stand around and they almost have a picnic. Like, get in
There's
there,
loads of
get
food
out.
to get. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's such a choice. It's really good. And loads of people doing exactly that. But yeah, I mean, if I think I missed the first one because I didn't know what was going on. So I just ran past it. Okay, was that the pit stop? I just went, and I always remember like, making sure you get that water. And I'd actually run out of water by the time I got there. So that next 10K, I didn't do any water. It was like I had a little bit left, and I was thinking, shit. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And that's probably why I got cramped towards the end. I put money on it. But I was doing all the fueling, like you said, religiously.
Yeah. And,
So yeah, but
and tell us, because a question I get asked almost more than anything is what sort of pre-run or fueling options. What's your pre-run fueling option?
fig rolls.
Fig rolls. Marcus and his fig rolls.
All day long.
You love
all
them,
day
don't
long.
you?
Every Saturday, Sunday morning when I'm about to go out for a run, it is fig rolls. Nothing else, just fig rolls and a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's actually quite amazing how much natural sugar, but sugar nonetheless is in a fig. So they are a really good option. So anybody listening who's thinking, oh, what fueling options does Marcus use?
But don't, if you're going to do fig rolls, don't do the Jacobs ones. Do the Morrisons or the Lidl brands.
Yeah,
they're much cheaper and they're just as good.
Get the cheaper, full of E number ones.
Yeah,
E numbers for the win.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So the question I wanted to ask you was, what advice would you give somebody who might be dealing with sort of a condition like this? And I know every condition is different, but maybe because actually it's quite interesting. On my website, which you very kindly wrote a blog for about running with ankylosing spondylitis, it's actually my second best performing blog.
Really?
So, and that's only eclipsed by Faye's recent blog, which was about menstrual cycles. And you wrote it ages ago, and every week it gets hit. So people are, looking at it and and using that information. So if anybody listening, or somebody knows somebody with this particular condition, what sort of advice would you give them?
It's a tricky one, like I say, because everyone has different things from ankylosing spondylitis. I mean, my thing when I first got it was I couldn't walk, I couldn't get out of a chair. It was that painful. Some people it affects their breathing, some people it affects their eyes, and it just affects people in so many different ways. Interestingly, it's quite a common invisible disease, as they call it. And it's very, very surprising the amount of people that suffer from it. But I think as long as you're getting, I mean, people get diagnosed with things like sciatica, which is actually being diagnosed incorrectly. And I've actually met someone in our running club that recently who was diagnosed with it, and it could potentially be from the other things that he's told me that are quite similar symptoms to what I have, which is more the sort of piriformis area that he's struggling with, is probably actually the ankylosing spondylitis. But you need to go and see a specialist first of all to make sure it is, and then have a good routine of how you actually you don't recover from it. It's something that gets worse. It doesn't get better. But you need to find someone that can actually manage it properly for you, and then get some form of structure in terms of that. I guess the stretching, you need to make yourself very supple. So you need to make sure you.
I was say you're not subtle, Marcus. You might be supple, you're not subtle.
No, I can be direct. But it's really about making sure that your body is in the best position to be able to do something that, if you do want to do running, is to find things that enable you to be able to do that. And you do need to probably seek somebody that has either had ankylosing spondylitis to speak to them and see what they do to help that, or going to a physio that you always say I should go to. I never do, but so someone that's kind of new to it, that is a really good thing to do straight away. Because I remember when I did it, I went to intensive physiotherapy up in Reading, and I think I was quite fortunate to be able to do that, because I was taught a whole load of things about the disease, how you can make it, not say you can't make it improve, how you can make it better for yourself and manage it. And a lot of good things is swimming and hydrotherapy, and they're the two things I wish I did, and I don't do. But I found a mechanism of going to a gym, doing all the stuff I do in the gym once or twice a week, and then continuously doing running. And I think that is massive in terms of what I do, and it helps me to stay as supple as possible.
You run 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah.
I think I program
5.
or have been programmed 5 for you, and then
Hmm.
you do the Monday session with the club, don't you?
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
relatively
The
easy.
Friday's religiously off,
Yes,
unless I'm doing one of my challenges.
unless you're doing one of your challenges. um, and then in terms of the sort of with your running, what has been your biggest achievement, would you say? Or certainly, what what have what have you enjoyed most about your running, particularly over the last couple of years, since we've been working together.
Well, definitely the ultra, because I mean, I think you had someone speak to you that's coming to the age I am now, coming up to 50, now 50. And I suppose the attitude I had towards marathons and the pain that I was in when I did a 20 miler probably 2 years ago, and it really enforced, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. It hurts too much. And I think that, and coming to the age of 50, is believing you can actually do something as long as you're given the structure and the management to be able to do it. And I think from an achievement point of view, from 2013 saying, I can't do this, I don't want to do this, it hurts too much, to actually doing it and doing it comfortably is a game changer, absolute game changer. And I think that demonstrates to anybody out there that's kind of in their heads going, I don't think I can do this. There's no way I can do that. I mean, there's times I do say to you, I just can't do things. That's what I live with. But to be able to do an ultra marathon and enjoy it, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. And had it been like I did the marathons 10 years ago, I would have walked out of that and go, fucking hell, that was absolutely horrendous. I am never going to do this ever again. I mean, I did say that I did the ultra as a challenge because I just wanted that tick box of saying I've done an ultra. And then doing the marathon afterwards, trying to beat the marathon time that I did in the ultra, unfortunately didn't happen because I got ill 2 weeks before. With horrible coughing fits throughout the night. They kept me awake and I suffered. Oh yeah, the other thing from ankylosing spondylitis is massive fatigue, which is really hard to manage when you run a lot. So my wife constantly complains about me yawning because I am constantly tired. and that's not just.
But that's been part of the coaching process with you, though, is you saying, "Oh, my fatigue is massive at the moment." Is then that's where I come in and go, right, we're not going to do that 6 mile run. I'm not going to stop you from running because I know that wouldn't work for you. So instead of doing a 6 mile run, we'll do a 3 mile instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's adjustable.
Yeah.
But I think, fatigue. My God, that is one thing about ankylosing spondylitis. I hate. My muscles are constantly fatigued. I always feel like I can't do something, but as soon as I start, the adrenaline goes through and I just push through it. So for an achievement point of view, doing the ultra was like probably the top thing. And there's obviously the achievements of doing like a fast 5Ks or competing against athletes. And when we go to our Vets League in the summer and being able to do that, or doing the stupid challenges that I do, they're great achievements as well. I mean, I look at my medals, which you can't see, they're in front of me, and I just look at all of them and go, wow, that was amazing. I remember doing we do this thing up in Norfolk, which is a relay where there's, I think it's something like 17 legs or 21 legs we run around Norfolk.
Yeah.
And running at 5 o'clock in the morning, doing a 10-mile run, chasing down flashing orange lights. That is a beauty to behold. And doing that and then getting comments from people watching me run saying how beautiful a thing it was, because you just get into a zone and you just go. It's like you're fueled by fig rolls at 5 o'clock in the morning to do like an hour and 5 minute 10-mile run. It was insane. It was like one of those things that you just remember for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Oh, you've done some amazing stuff, and it is. I know you're stepping away from long stuff now because you want to focus on just go and have some fun, get your 5K stuff going. But your range is incredible, because let's just talk about some of your times now. We've already mentioned the 15, 420, 50K, but you've also done. So you were about 18 and a half minutes anyway on the 5K when we started, weren't you?
18:21.
Yeah, and what did we chop it down to? 18:9?
18:19.
18:19. Okay, so which, by the way, is for anybody listening, that's only 2 seconds. For somebody you mentioned earlier, who is approaching and is now 50.
Yeah,
Um,
I was 3 years on as
and
well.
yeah,
And
and
I did my calf injury because I was out for 7 weeks.
yes, you were, yeah.
And that's that plays in your head as well. So I hadn't done anything, especially when we were doing the training for the ultra and the marathon. And we I think we did that smack bang in the middle of it or something like, or
Yeah,
might
that
have
sounds
just
about
been
right.
before. Um, and it was a big surprise to be able to do that. I mean, I'm knocking around sort of the 19 and a half, 20 minutes at the moment.
Mm.
I did 20 at the weekend. And that was bloody hard work. Um, and I definitely want to get back under 19s and get into the 18s again
Yeah,
for sure.
you will. Yeah, if you
But yeah,
focusing on those 5Ks, you will do.
but last year we were doing, because I do the Bets League, which is 4 different events in the year,
Yeah,
and we were breaking 400 PBs, we're doing 800 PBs, we're doing 100 meter, 200 meter PB, and it was like Jesus. It's like every week doing an Instagram post,
yeah,
PB.
yeah. Which I talk about you a lot, especially when I do get a potential athlete coming through, and they might want to work with me that is sort of at the top end of the age of 40, and they go, oh well, I'd like to beat some PBs, but I don't think I can. And I always say, I've got a guy like Marcus. He was a great runner anyway. You are one of my I guess one of my top, most what's the word I'm looking for? Proud moments of my coaching career, because when somebody is already a very established runner, they get a little bit older, it's so hard to break those PBs. But I think with that right structure, and I know I'm blowing my own trumpet a little bit here, but
Mm-hmm.
and the dedication from you, we've managed to do some really good
Yeah,
stuff. I think
I
anybody
think
who's listening and think, well, I couldn't do that. Yes,
yeah,
you
it's
can.
just attitude though, isn't it? I mean, if like me, I want to be fast.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, or I want to be able to run an ultra marathon in a desired time. You always ask that question, what's the why, or what's your why? And then my why is I want to be fast. Okay, and in my head I know what I need to do to be able to do that, and you have to be committed to it,
Mm.
but you need to believe in that you can do it, and then you
Absolutely.
see the results, and you see other people's results, and it encourages you, motivates you, and inspires you, and from doing that it inspires other people.
Yeah.
And it really does demonstrate anything is possible
Yeah.
with
Well,
the right mindset.
yeah. Well, you definitely inspire people. You've got some great club members that talk very highly of you, and I've had many of the metros message me to say you and Marcus have formed a formidable team. And I will be sad to see you go, but
I'll be back one day, I'm sure of it, when I
you'll
want
be.
to do
But
some stupid challenge.
I've decided to do another ultra. I can hear it. I can hear it now. I can hear it now. I really
It's
can.
not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I have got one thing set up for next year, but it's not running. Just something I wanted to do for charity again. So it's in the process of being organised. Again, I'm organising it
Yeah.
because that's the kind of thing I like to do.
Yeah.
Some craziness.
So over the course of our time working together, what's kind of been the thing that you kind of taken away from a training perspective?
Quite a lot. I think when I first joined you, I think you'd be happy for me to say this, that I was always doing fast runs.
You were.
I only had one speed.
Everything was 7 minute miles on the 420 pace or whatever that is on kilometers. Everything.
So I'll go away from this and I still do my foundation runs, I promise. Maybe not as often, because I think one of the things I feel with, probably because of my AS, is the continuation of doing a certain speed does slow me down, because my muscles, because of the AS, become very, I guess, very sort of focused on doing that pace, and it becomes then difficult to get the pace back up.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so uh,
with 5Ks, if there's one thing I do know, I'm not a specialist, but with 5Ks, you do need to run. You still need to do your easy runs,
yeah,
but you will need to do more fast
I'll,
running
I'll,
as
I'll
well.
be going back to something like 60-40 or 50-50 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's my plan. But I think in terms of really understanding how these things work from the scientific point of view that you're really into, is to I actually understand the importance now, of those foundation runs, and not watching your watch all the time to make sure your heart rate is hitting it, but actually feeling that inside your body when you're running, and knowing that you're going either too fast or your breathing's gone up, and you can really sort of know straight away that you got to go slower, slow down. And I'm probably one of the worst people to be talking about foundation runs, because I always hit the upper limit. I never hit it in the middle for my foundation runs. So I'm always hitting. So I'm supposed to be 130. My range is probably 128 to 132 when you see my runs.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, that's still fine. I'm still doing the slower run, which I should be doing. May not necessarily be perfect, but that's what I go out and do. So I understand the importance of, going for those recovery runs, those foundation runs, getting your endurance runs in, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to take that away with me for sure.
Yeah, good. I'll be keeping an eye on your Strava. Although luckily for you, I don't look at Strava that much. So
I got a ghost coach.
I'm gonna check in every now and then on Strava and go, that was too fast.
I'm bound to. I mean, one of the things before I started getting coached by it was I used to live by Strava, and I was always segment hunting, and
yes, you were, yeah.
And that was the way that I became fast, is by going segment hunting and trying to beat those segments. And I'd find a group of about 6 or 7 segments, and I'd go out and smash them in one morning. And I used to love doing that. I'll probably still do a few of those.
Yeah, that is not a bad way to do a speed session. I wouldn't try and do the whole thing fast, but if you are sort of doing a little bit easy, and then you kind of just segment, and
that's exactly what I used to do. That was my speed play sessions.
Exactly, that's a fartlek. That is exactly what a fartlek is. It's whatever your targets are. It could be junctions, it could be between trees, between lampposts, it could be Strava segments, it could be between cars or buildings or landmarks, and that's a great example. Actually, I love that.
So
give me an idea. That is actually
I'm on top of quite a lot of segments in the area, only because I built them myself. So I found ways that
one of one.
On.
Very good.
I mean, if someone comes along and beat it, it's like competition for me. I go out and I go and try and beat it again. So I'm getting back to that now.
Yeah.
At some point, not straight away.
Yeah. Well, as we start to wrap up this podcast, I can hold my head up high and be proud that you've taken something away, because I'm always very conscious that I am very into the science of running and stuff, but I always try and put it into a practical way for the people I coach, and I'm glad you're able to take
it's easy to understand. And I think for me as well, because I'm very involved with the club, is passing on that information and helping others in our club to understand that as well, because a lot of people just turn up. It's one of the reasons we actually started a core session on a Monday night, because of everyone just goes out and does the same run.
Yeah.
So we incorporated a core session, which obviously has strengthening in it as well. But then I started my Friday morning session, where you do strength exercises for half an hour, then you do a half an hour of speed play, or something to that degree. So we get lots of people coming down for that, because it is different to just running. And people in clubs who haven't got coaches, they need to be educated in what can make them stronger, how they can stop getting injuries. And I'm probably guessing lots of clubs, there's probably people like me that do things like that, but there's a lot of clubs out there that just do running. That's it. They solely focus on that. They don't do the other stuff, which they should be doing.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think it's really important to do that. So people are getting stronger, they're getting faster, getting fitter, and they're not getting injured.
Yeah, get strong, get fast, run long. That's my the maximum mileage tagline.
Yeah, good motto.
Yeah, indeed. Marcus, it's been fantastic having you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for all your hard work with me.
And I was going to say, it's been even more fantastic coaching you over the last 2.5 years. And I no doubt that we'll do something together again. But in the meantime, you are a good mate, and we'll stay in touch in other ways.
Absolutely, will do.
If people want to follow your antics on I'm going to say antics, because you'll be off to a stupid challenge again. No time.
Just you wait.
So how can people find you? Where do you hang out?
Instagram, Speedy Weedy Runs. I think Speedy Weedy Runs 73, isn't it, or something like that. Let me just double check that.
Speedy
I'll
Weedy
double
Runs.
check.
I'll put it in the show notes anyway for people to click on.
Yeah, Speedy Weedy Runs.
Yeah, Speedy Weedy Runs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only because that name actually comes from my old boss. I went to Africa with him when we were doing the charity thing before we went and did the marathon. And he came up with the name Speedy Weedy because I was a faster runner than he was. He said, right, Speedy Weedy. my CEO coming up with that, and it's like, why does he call you Speedy Weedy? It just insinuates you're weak. Well, a weak person, but fast.
No, not at all. You see you running around London with your guns out.
Yeah, the other thing I'm notorious for, running around topless.
Yes, you do. Yeah. I haven't got the confidence to do that myself, to be honest. But...
Oh, come on, you got a great body. Get it out.
No. Christ, I'm a father of two ridiculously kids who leave food on their plate, and I end up being daddy dustbin. So, yeah. Right. Anyway, Marcus, thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story. For anybody who is, and actually, I did an episode with a lady called Jo Smith as well. Injury, chronic illness, that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to hold you back. It
Definitely
doesn't. Cool. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks for speaking to me. Take care. Bye-bye.
And that's another lap done on the Maximum Mileage Running podcast. Thank you for joining me and my athletes and my guests on this wild ride through the world of ultra, road and trail running. And remember, whether it's a mountain trail or the local road, every mile you conquer makes you stronger. Keep pushing, keep laughing, and of course, keep swearing when that hill just seems a little too steep. If you enjoyed today's journey, don't forget to subscribe and leave me a nice review. Your feedback does help me go that extra mile. Until next time, this is your host, Nick Hancock, reminding you to make every mile count. Run long, run strong, and run with maximum mileage. Catch you on the next run.